Hey everybody, I'm Garcia, and today I'm taking a look at a set collection card game called Sakura Hunt. In this small card game, the players are looking for the perfect bloom, and you are going to be playing cards to the table, to different locations, and then being careful with when you score, and what sets of cards you are claiming keeping for some endgame scoring as well. So it's a game that's very much about timing, about finding that perfect moment to score the board, to get the highest victory points you can, but also forward thinking to get a nice run of cards at the end of the game. Let me show you how it works. We'll come on back after that. I'll tell you what I think of it. So here's what the game looks like set up, ready to begin. We have our score track over here with our 3 colors. We're going to set that aside for now. I'm just going to put it over here. And then each player has their own chosen color and a hand of 6 cards. We've set these 4 down the side and put one player, a color per player here, a token per player. And you are ready to begin. So you're trying to get the highest score possible. And on your turn, you have one of 3 options. So first option for me is I can play a card to one of the lines, and then I would draw another card. And each of these lines is going to have spots for 6 cards at most. So that's my first option, and that's what I'll do. So it'll be the next player's go. Second option is you can switch a card, swap a card out. So I could replace this card, for example, with another card from my hand, and I don't draw after that because I'm back up to my hand limit. And then for your third and final option, you are going to actually score something. So let's go ahead and push the game along here just a little bit. And let's do that. This player might play there and draw a card. This is going to continue until someone wants to score. When you score, and you can only score once per line, you are going to see how many cards are there before you score. And so how in bloom that location is. And this track right up here is going to help you with that. So the track is going to let you know how many cards when you score, depending on how many cards are there, what kind of score you are going to get. Full bloom being right here, meaning 4 cards being displayed at that spot. And so, let's just go ahead and have 4 cards somewhere like there. I am going to score using 1 card from the table, 2 cards from my hand. So let me go ahead and cheat very briefly here and give myself a card I shouldn't have, just for the example. When I do this, I can do it in one of 2 ways. 3 cards of the same number, or a run. So say a 4, 5, 6, all right? So I'm going to score right there. It is in full bloom. I am going to use, let's cheat again. There we go. I'm going to use that 8 from the table and these 2 8s from my hand. I would replace the spot that I took the card from with my token that takes up that spot. Also lets me know, hey, I've already scored in that line. I'm not going to be able to do that again. And then I would display these cards in front of me on the table. And I'll just stack them up like so. If I had a run, I would lay them out in a run. And one of the things is, after you score in the game, you just spent 2 cards from your hand, you only draw up 1. So every time you score, your hand size decreases by 1 card. And so now I'm going to be playing the rest of the game with 5 cards. Next time I score, if I score over here, and I spend my 2 cards from my hand, then I'm going to get 1, and I'll be playing with 4 cards, and so on. Now when I score, so let's undo this, just this bit here. Once I score that, I am going to get a number of victory points, again equal to the bloom level. So let's take a look at our scoring. There were 4 cards there when I scored, and so according to our chart up here, I would get 5 victory points. Just move right up to the 5. Let's say the next player wants to score as well right now, and they are going to take a look at their hand here. Can they score right now? Sure. So they'll go ahead and score. The red player is going to take this card here with a 7 and an 8. So 6, 7, 8, that's perfectly fine. They'll put these in front of them, but there were only 3 cards displayed there, so they only get 2 points. And so red gets 2. They put those in front of themselves. they draw a single card back up. This is going to continue until either the deck of cards is gone or each player has scored at all 4 locations, and then you are going to do the final scoring for the game, which is right here, all right? And that's pretty much it. So let me show you how this here works. You are scoring for 2 things: runs, longest runs, and then also triplets of a kind. So if we combine, let's say, this score here with this one here, let's say this is everything I had at the end of the game. I am going to get, well, actually nothing for this because I needed a few more cards. If the run is at least 5 cards, I get 1 victory point. But let's say I had everything from the 1 to the 8. That's 8. Run of 8 cards long. That's 10 victory points. And then I also have 3 8s there for a bonus 5 victory points. Besides that, there's one kind of card in the deck that I haven't shown you yet, and that's these, the sake, or sake cards. The sake cards are going to be wild. You can play them from your hand for free. You can use them, you know, as in they can be any card. You can also take them from the board, and they can represent any card when you score them. But they are not going to help you with the scoring at the end of the game. And so you have to be careful. You have to use these sparingly, because if you use too much, your end game scoring, so you'll get a lot of points perhaps this way, but your end game scoring is going to suffer because you used too many of the sake cards. And that's pretty much how the game goes. You play, or you replace, or you score. Once you're done scoring and all the players have scored, you have some score that you gathered from you know, the gameplay itself during the game. You do your end game scoring right here, and you see who did the best. That player is the winner of the game. And that's all there is to Sakura Hunt. Alright, so that is the game. Let's talk about it. I'm going to start off with thematic ties. I like the theme in this. It's a nice, attractive theme. It's simple. It's very approachable. I think they did a good job of picking a theme that works well. And though the game feels largely abstracted, the theme makes for some nice artwork, which is my next point here, aesthetics. Now, I have a problem with the aesthetics because I include in this category the quality of the components as well. How everything is manufactured as well. And while I think the look of everything is very nice, except for maybe the player tokens, they're a little sort of by the numbers, if you would. And of course, the wooden cubes are just wooden cubes. The cards look great. I like the way they look very much. But I don't like the production quality of the game a whole lot. The scoring board is just basically a folded sheet of you know, slightly thicker paper, and then the cards have a very unpleasant sort of rubbery finish to them. They are a little awkward to shuffle, and they just don't feel good in the hand. They're a little sticky. They're a little on the they got a strange amount of cling to them to each other. I'm not a big fan of the production here. And again, though the game looks good, playing it is not as satisfactory from a tactile point of view as I would like. Replayability, I think, is pretty low as well. Once you've figured this game out, you're sort of going to be doing the same things from game to game. There's not a lot of discovery here, and I just don't find the cadence of the game particularly fascinating. And it's a game that kind of hinges on that, this idea of making your move when it's appropriate. Well, when it's appropriate is extremely obvious. You know exactly when you should, and all you are doing is delaying sometimes, which is not particularly fun, and somebody else could just jump in there if the cards are right and score. Or jumping ahead a little bit, and that's not as good because while you came in under the wire as compared to other people, your score was lower. Just don't see a lot of replayability. Game length is fine. The game does not outstay its welcome. I think that's okay. Ease of play is for the most part okay, but I do wish that the rulebook was a little clearer. There are, for being such a simple game, there are a few rules that I wish were laid out a little more obviously, and I wish they had included some late game play examples. There's a couple of things I'm just not sure about, honestly, still. I know you put these tokens out on the spot from which you took the card, and I know in the manual they say there are spots for 6 cards. So 6 cards, those tokens appear to take up the spot of a card, But that's never made completely obvious. I think you can still only go to 6 cards, 6 card spots, so 6 places. But is it spaces for 6 cards? Meaning once I've put one of those tokens out, I can still have 6 cards. That's 7 spaces. They don't say one way or the other which is correct. Now, there would be no reason to put the token on the spot you evacuate it unless they did eat up that space, which is what makes the most sense. But it is not clearly laid out. So again, I think the ease of play is hurt by the lack of clarity in the rule book. The rule book is, I mean, the rules are very simple, and the rule book is simple to grasp. It's just a little less clear than I would like. And then lastly, tactics and strategy, luck, things like that. The game has some luck, certainly. It's a card game. But there is a nice amount of manipulation with the cards. You can switch cards back and forth. You are going to be able to play to all 4 spaces and not load one up and just allow somebody else to score it. The timing, being able to manipulate timing to benefit you gets a little fuzzier with more players. So when you play with 4, it's going to simply be harder to time things right to benefit you. Because again, it's so obvious, it's so transparent when good timing is there and when bad timing is there. There's no push your luck that isn't obvious. There's nothing that is hidden in an interesting, clever way, is what I mean. And so I find the tactics and strategy in the game to be transparent, very easy to grasp and obvious to understand. So overall, I think this game is very pretty. I think if you want to play something that is largely mindless and pleasant to look at and you enjoy the theme, then yeah, you might enjoy this game. I found it to be just another nice game. And that's not much of a compliment, but it's also not necessarily a big diss. I'm not saying the game is broken. I'm not saying it's garbage. I'm just saying it's just another nice card game. No massive clever twist here makes this rise above the rest. Nothing in it rises to the surface for me that makes me think, when I can't remember the title, oh yeah, that game that does this thing. This is the flower game, and the hand shrinks. That's about the biggest twist they've got, but that's not that much of a twist, So that's basically it for this one. Sakura Hunt is, as I said, an attractive game, but not necessarily one that I would say so clever I need to keep in my collection. There you go. Thanks for tuning in and checking this out with me. I'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.